All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. All right, so I'm Katerina Hyzyk, and I will be your host for today. You may have joined me at a webinar before or met me at a transportation trade show or event somewhere across North America. So if so, thank you for returning for another webinar, and it's great to see you again. If you're new to Miovision, welcome. We hope you'll find this webinar beneficial towards your data collection programs. I'm the marketing manager at Miovision who focuses on traffic studies and helping public agencies get the most out of their traffic data and count programs. And here to help share his expertise on the subject of data accuracy, I'm joined today by Jason Beierling. Hi, Jason.
Hi, Katrina.
So Jason is the manager of data services at Miovision. He leads a team of dedicated quality assurance specialists who execute Miovision's traffic data verification process. He's passionate about scaling process improvements and ensuring the accurate and timely delivery of traffic data to Miovision's customers globally. Today, we're focusing on the importance of using accurate traffic data. I'll be reviewing an example of how minor discrepancies between data collection tools can deliver different results, and Jason will be providing you with some tips on how you can best set your traffic studies up for optimal results, as well as walk us through Miovision's traffic data verification process. And as always, we'll have some time at the end of the webinar for some question and answer. So a little bit about Miovision for anyone who may not be familiar with who we are. In 2005, Miovision was founded by 3 system design graduates from the University of Waterloo in Ontario. It began in a basement driven by an idea. The story is that our CEO had a summer job manually collecting traffic data and thought there had to be a better way to get the job done. So Miovision set out to create a video collection unit and accompanying software that would revolutionize the way traffic data was collected. Since then, the company has grown, and as you can see by these impressive statistics on the screen, we've since gained a lot of experience in turning video into traffic data, with data inputs from customers all over the world. We've since grown our traffic solution offering with products that extend beyond traditional traffic data collection, but today we're sticking to our roots, and we're going to be exploring traffic studies and how traffic data collected using our portable traffic data collection device is 95% or more accurate. So you may have noticed this video on social media or popping up online lately. It's a fun ad that we created to help explain the benefits of using a Miovision Scout for data collection. It's meant to be funny, but really what it's about is focusing on using tools that help you collect accurate traffic data. For anyone who hasn't seen it yet, let's take a quick moment to watch it.
I don't know about you, but I like being right. In fact, I always am.
You were right about that thing.
I know. Being right is all about being accurate. But when it comes to traffic data collection, most tools fall short. Not to mention, they're downright unsafe.
Get out of the road, dillweed.
See?
I almost just died.
It's dangerous. I never risk my reputation of being right on error-prone tools. Instead, I use the Miovision Scout. The Miovision Scout uses video and the world's most advanced traffic AI to classify and count vehicles, pedestrians, cyclists, scooters, and more. The Scout sets up safely at the side of the road in just a few minutes. Just attach it to a utility pole or a tripod and let the data roll in. It's so easy to install, even this guy can do it.
Thanks. Wait, what?
With LTE and Wi-Fi connectivity, I can remotely change study requirements, monitor studies, and get notifications if something needs attention, like if someone forgot to press record on the camera.
That was you.
Oh yeah. And talk about durable. This baby can take rain, snow, and extreme temperatures. The Miovision Scout is 95% or more accurate on its own, but you can always review traffic footage manually to verify discrepancies, which you can't do with other tools.
But what do I do with the data?
Oh, I'm glad you asked, guy in the road. With Miovision Data Link Portal, you can put out data requests, view results, make changes, and share them all from one place. It's fast, effective, and simple.
You want that traffic data for me?
You got it right here, sir.
Excellent work.
There's no better way to gather and analyze traffic data. Trust me, I'm always right. You should be too.
Oh. You have your license, right?
Yep.
All right, so I hope you enjoyed that. A couple fun facts about the ad. Yes, that was a real flamethrower, and all of the children are children of Miovision employees. So I hope you enjoyed that humorous look at traffic data collection. But the message that I really want to drive home by showing you this ad is that if you want to be right and make the right decisions in your job, you need accurate data to back you up. This is especially important because you're making the kind of decisions that shape the way that cities are built. And if you're using data collection tools that are susceptible to error, you could unintentionally be making the wrong decision. And those wrong decisions could end up with projects that exceed timelines and budgets, or frustrate citizens because they're having poor driving experiences. We know that this is not your intent. After all, I imagine many of you chose this career path because you genuinely care about improving the transportation experience in not only the cities that you serve, but in the cities that you, your families, and your friends live in. There's pride that comes with being able to say you did that when someone says their day was improved by a strategy or a program that you helped to implement. And really, that's what it's all about. So that's why we're recommending the use of tools that enable you and your teams to collect traffic data, and why we believe that video is the answer to obtaining high levels of accuracy. Miovision Scout and DataLink are a combination of project management software and data collection hardware. Scout is a purpose-built data collection device which is designed to be left unattended in the field for days at a time, collecting video of an intersection, a road, or a path that you wish to study. DataLink is a tool that's going to help you manage your Scout or fleet of Scouts and manage your reports and files amongst your teams. So no matter what side of the traffic data equation you fall under, Scout and DataLink are powerful tools that can help you. So if you're a data collector, it's equipment that's built for professionals who need to collect the right data the first time. Your reputation is built on how accurate and fast you can deliver projects to your clients. So it's important that you use tools that make your business more efficient and agile. For engineers, you need 95% or more accurate and verifiable traffic data because you can't risk the reputation of your firm or professional recommendations on flawed intelligence. And for planners, you need powerful data reports to underpin your design decisions and to support the planning policy that you implement. So to help drive home the importance of using the right tools, I want to spend some time reviewing a study we completed in Manhattan and Brooklyn. The premise of this was to conduct a side-by-side comparison of pneumatic road tubes and video traffic data collection in a busy urban environment. So the Scout was used to collect baseline data through video that could be verified, and then used that video to compare the difference in results from a video count and a road tube count. The tubes and Scouts were deployed at multiple locations as seen on the map on the screen during a 72-hour period. We worked alongside a local data collection firm called Traffic Data Bank, who assisted with the deployment and the counts. So spoiler alert, we did see a difference in the result between the tools. But just seeing that there's a difference in the accuracy of the data collected is one thing. We wanted to take this a step further and measure the impact of what those different results actually had in a modeling scenario, which I'll get to shortly. But first, I want to show what happened across multiple locations due to high congestion, high volume, low speeds, as well as the presence of freight vehicles. Here you can see that pneumatic road tubes regularly overcounted traffic compared to video. So to illustrate that, we have these graphs here, and the red line represents the video data and the blue line represents tubes. The red circles are there just to show instances where the results provided by the different methods started to differentiate. And it's in this region where, even though there are moments where the tubes undercount due to a blockage, you can see that in the bottom right hand where my mouse is hovering right now, they even managed to still overcount by 13% overall despite that dip. These are some more examples at different locations in the same study where you can see the discrepancy between those two data collection methods again. These were also used in the calculation to determine that 13% overcount by tubes. So another example to consider is the equipment's propensity towards failure or susceptibility to blockages. Here's a great example of a blockage taking place with a large truck parked on top of the tubes. Obviously, data will be skewed during this time, and as a result, and without a video source getting a bird's eye view of the roadway, you'll be hard pressed to have the ability to A, verify that that blockage occurred, and B, to have the ability to go back and recount it in the same study. So you can see here at the 6th Avenue location, the tube equipment failures due to breakage and blockages result in tubes reporting about 35% fewer vehicles on average compared to video. Here again, you can see the impact to the data that these kinds of incidents can cause, as evident by the big blue dips in the results. So you can see here. So in summary, there was a 13% overcount due to the impacts of a saturated roadway with too many vehicles flowing for the equipment to handle it, as well as an average of 35% undercount due to the equipment failing or blockages with vehicles parked on the tubes for periods of time. So we know that in these scenarios, you can experience anything from a 13 to 35% discrepancy. But that really begs the question, is a 13 to 35% loss of accuracy really a big deal? Can you have statistically relevant and accurate data considering that you have this kind of variation? To find the answer, we wanted to apply these results to a standard application that a traffic engineer would encounter in their day-to-day. We modeled a typical four-way intersection in a peak hour scenario and assumed a 15% overcount on all volumes at the intersection. We stayed on the modest end of the spectrum because obviously a 35% discrepancy is no longer statistically viable. But what happens if you're even 15% off? 15 out of 100 isn't too bad. Well, this resulted in a 50% increase in average delay estimated. So it jumped from 27 seconds to about 41 seconds. This subsequently translated into a rating level of service D versus a level of service C. So going back to the point we were making earlier about your recommendations that you make to your clients and the municipalities you serve, using this data, you would have been at risk of making a recommendation back that the intersection is experiencing more negative impacts than more severely than they are. So let's expand on this using the following chart. The bottom axis refers to volume overestimation error. We conducted a sensitivity analysis on how overestimation of the volumes impacted the intersection's average delay estimation using the delay formula described by the Highway Capacity Manual. The analysis was conducted in 3 different levels of saturation, so under, over, and near saturated, and this graph is summarizing those findings for you. So for all 3 levels of saturation, there is a strong relationship between volume error and delay error. And as the level of saturation increases, the effect of the error is much more significant. So don't get me wrong, there may be some situations in which the low cost benefit of using road tubes outweighs the skewed results. So for instance, if you're in a very undersaturated environment with very low counts, maybe you're only 10% out on your delay estimation. In this type of situation, agencies may be willing to live with the results with the trade-off for the low cost of tubes. However, as shown in this chart, at the low end of the scale, at about 15% loss of accuracy, we're averaging about a 40% error in the delay estimation, and it only gets worse from there. As you get up to the 35% loss, you see a staggering 85% error in your delay estimation. So needless to say, this is incredibly significant and just something we want you to consider when choosing your next method of data collection on a project in a similar environment. So when you're using Scout and DataLink, there's a 4-step process that you want to go through from requesting a traffic study to reviewing the results of that study in DataLink. For the purposes of today's webinar, I'm not going to focus on the request and the insight portions of the equation. They're important, but the collection and analysis portion of the process are the components where you or the company you hire to collect data for you have the most control over setting your projects up for success to ensure that you get the best possible data results. Whether it's the tools that you choose to use to get the job done, the way you deploy them, or the way that the data is processed, there's factors at every step that can impact the accuracy of your results. So we're going to walk through those today. So let's start with the collection phase. When it comes to traffic data collection, Scout is the leader. So Scout is a purpose-built video traffic data collection device. It was designed for the sole purpose of collecting video while being left unattended in the field for extended periods of time. The device is NEMA rated and can operate in temperatures in a range from -40 Fahrenheit to 140 Fahrenheit, or if you're in Canada, -40 Celsius to 60 degrees Celsius. And no, even though we showed it getting torched by a flamethrower in the ad, that was just a joke. If you read the small print that appeared on the screen, it did say that the device is not fire rated, so please don't set it on fire. But those operating temperatures are pretty impressive, and we do have customers who have deployed successfully in the desert or in Arctic conditions even. So Scout is meant to be discreetly attached to a pole at an intersection or along a roadway. Or if you plan to deploy it in a more rural area, we have tripods available for that as well. Scout also comes with cut-resistant Kevlar straps as well as padlocks to keep your equipment secured to the pole that you affix it to. The schematic drawing on the slide here shows Scout in its collapsed form, but the camera mast can extend upwards to about 21 feet with a wide-angle low-light camera attached to the top, which gives you a bird's eye view of the roadway or pathway which you wish to record. There's also a handy screen on the device so you can conduct camera checks on location to make sure that you're deployed correctly to get optimal results. You can also schedule your studies at the roadside, and because Scouts come with LTE connectivity, you can schedule recordings remotely and get updates from your Scout while it's in the field. This is really helpful in making sure you don't waste your time on unnecessary field trips, especially when you've got to collect in locations that are far from your operations base. So now that I've given you the mandatory features spiel, I'm going to pass the microphone off to Jason, and he's going to give you some tips on how to successfully deploy the equipment and how his team ensures that your studies meet our high accuracy standards.
All right, thank you. So first I'm going to talk about the traffic data types on the next slide here, and then I'm going to go into the setup deployments. So Miovision Scout is able to collect the following traffic study types. The first three on the left side cover our vehicle volumes. Intersection counts, or TMCs, turning movement counts, are the most popular study type that we handle. These capture all movements at the intersection, including crosswalk volumes. This year to date, we've processed over 640,000 hours of these studies. Our second type is the road and highway volume studies. Sorry. You may know these as ADTs or ATR studies. These studies capture movements along a section of road or in and out of a driveway. Over the past few years, we've seen an increase in these study types. As mentioned in the case study, they're safer to deploy and offer higher level of accuracy. Our third vehicle volume study type is roundabouts. So we're doing more roundabout studies as more roundabouts are being created. Roundabouts are safer because of a decreased risk of serious injury. And as you know, they probably offer cheaper to construct and are easier to maintain compared to a signalized intersection. If you're looking for data on bike or pedestrian movements, we have pathway and junction studies. Pathways are similar to a highway study where you're looking at volume in a set area. And junction studies are similar to our vehicle TMCs. So there you're gathering information on if people are moving right, going through, or turning left in a specific area. Ped and bike studies are growing in demand as cities focus on active living strategies and are looking to incorporate more bike lanes. Our newest offering is travel time, not to be confused with time travel, which we don't offer. Travel time measures the time taken for a vehicle to move between two or more locations. It is best to do these studies in conjunction with a volume study. If you see an improvement in your travel time you want to know that it's because of a change you've made to your signal timing and not just because there's less vehicles on the road that day. When looking to deploy your Scout, we want to make sure that you consider our distance thresholds. This is important because the data can only be as accurate as what we can clearly capture on the video. Start by placing your Scout within 12 feet of the intersection. For vehicle studies, shown here on this slide, our intersection, roundabout, and highway counts, all movements should be within 175 feet of the camera. For road and highway studies, you can request lane data or movements by direction. When capturing the data, we recommend for lanes, we can do 4 lanes per camera. And when capturing volume by direction data, we can support up to 6 lanes. So in this image, it's showing the camera at a 90-degree angle, and that's for illustration purposes only. We actually recommend that you place the camera at a 45-degree angle facing into traffic. This allows better capture of vehicles traveling at similar speeds that are beside each other. For pedestrian studies, we recommend all movements within 125 feet. If your intersection is larger than 175 feet, don't worry, you can use multiple cameras. One thing to keep in mind when setting up 2 cameras is that during the processing, we cannot track a vehicle from one camera to the other. Each movement must be visible on a single camera. So when you look at this situation in the example, on the red camera indicators, the first image, if you're doing the movement, the through movement from the top to the bottom, in either direction, we cannot capture that movement all on one camera. And for this reason, we recommend the second image where the green indicators are on the outside. So that's going to capture the whole intersection. So whenever you're doing a deployment with 2 cameras, always face them on the outside facing in. If you're ever not sure where to set up your cameras, you can contact our support team and they'd be very happy to give you a free recommendation on where to best deploy your cameras. One more thing for multiple cameras is to remember that additional cameras, that doesn't cost you any more in your study, but it will increase your accuracy. Some common pitfalls when deploying your camera. So first, you want to make sure it is properly secured to the pole and that you can see all movements in the video. In the first example here, we have a pole blocking half of the intersection. So as you can imagine, we aren't going to be able to provide full data for the entire intersection. The middle image shows a truck blocking cars and subsequently the right turn lane behind the cars. In this scenario, your study might be placed on hold to notify you that you might have reduced accuracy for that right turn movement. In this case, we would recommend setting up the camera closer to the intersection and ensuring that it's fully deployed. In the third example on the screen, you can see there's quite a bit of sun glare there. So we want to make sure that you set up the camera facing a north-south direction to avoid any sun glare. Now we're going to move on to the analyze phase, and this is where my team really comes into play. So once the video is uploaded, we must define what needs to be processed and ensure that we are providing accurate, useful data. After processing, we perform several quality checks, which I will review with you. And these quality checks confirm that the accuracy is correct and that we can identify any potential issues along the way. So these are the four main steps that we perform in turning traffic video into data. Step one, each study starts with a configuration. So this is where we define the entrance and exits and where each movement will occur. Step two, the video is processed and the data quality team reviews the data along with some manual verification. Step three, this is our data visualization. So when the data is graphed, it gives a really good visual representation. It makes it easier to see any problem areas. And step four is our quality corridor check. So here we're making sure that any vehicles that leave intersection A show up at adjacent intersection B. So I'll just go through each of those in a bit more detail. So step one is our configuration step. So here's where we're mapping out all the movements, highlighting the entrance and exit areas. And we do that based on the customer's annotation. So on the top right, we can see the customer's annotation. That's where they're defining north, east, south, and west. And that's done during the upload of the video to us. So we call each intersection a study, and a study can consist of several cameras or several different trim times. Now, each camera has to be configured on its own, and we track each movement on whatever camera it is easiest viewed on. So each movement is then mapped, and it shows the connection between the entrance and the exit. So during processing, when vehicles travel from an entrance to an exit, they are then registered to the movement that they have just completed. It is during the configuration step that we also provide feedback to our customers. So our deployment star ratings, this is where we use a star rating to communicate the expected accuracy to the customer. After assessing the size of the intersection, distance of the furthest movements, visibility of all movements, and how high the camera has been deployed, we can estimate an accuracy of the study. If you're in the 4 or 5-star rating, we will move forward with processing. For 5-star distances or 5-star studies, we want to look at making sure all the movements are within 175 feet. And when it comes to angling the camera, in order to receive 5 stars, we'd like to see all the curves on each corner. This ensures that road vehicles, including pedal bikes, will be visible when they travel through the intersection. Anything at 3 stars or lower will be placed on hold. We place studies on hold to notify customers that one or more movements may have reduced accuracy. In this case, we are estimating that these movements could be as low as 85%. But I can tell you in most cases, all these movements will still end up being 95% or higher as they go through all the same quality checks. The most common reason for a study going on hold is when the far right turn is just too far away. In most cases, using a second camera to capture these movements would help us and ensure a high accuracy rating and make sure the study doesn't go on hold. If movements are blocked by a post, like I showed on the previous example, we'll put those studies on hold too. We want to make sure that anything that the customer needs to know, they're made aware of. So if their data accuracy is going to be impacted, they'll know ahead of time so they can choose whether they want to proceed with the study or cancel it. In some cases, they may want to cancel and redeploy. We also place studies on hold if they need further clarification. For example, if a customer has requested a 5-leg intersection and we can only determine where 4 of them are, we'll reach out to the customer for that clarification. This creates a back and forth, and that ensures that we process it correctly. Because it is video, we can change the configuration, reprocess it, do it multiple times with different configurations, but in order to get you the data the fastest, we want to make sure we're doing it right the first time, so that's why we'll reach out for any clarification. Okay, the next step, after the configuration, the video gets processed, and then the data comes back to us and we start comparing these multiple sets of data. So we're comparing the data and we're looking to make sure that it's fitting in our accuracy standard. So if we find something doesn't look accurate, we can adjust the configuration, have the video reprocessed, and at any point we can open the video and actually watch it. We can see if a vehicle classification is correct, or we can check, sometimes there'll be a U-turn and maybe we want to check to see if that actually happens. So that process is repeated where we're comparing data sets and making sure that we achieve 95% accuracy as defined by 95% of vehicles if there's over 100 vehicles matching at 95%, and then for low volumes, we're looking to make sure we're within plus or minus 5 for each bin, each 15-minute bin. The next step is our visualization step. So here we're looking at our time of day inspection. On the slides, you see a couple examples. I've only have one movement selected, but we can toggle between comparing multiple movements, multiple times of day, and toggle between the different classifications. So during this phase, we're looking for gaps in the data or any potential spikes to make sure that the data looks correct. If we have an interval with no data, we will watch the video. So in this case, sometimes you'll open the video and you'll actually see lots of vehicles, but they might be stopped at the intersection. There's been an accident or something. So those vehicles stopped, if they aren't moving for several minutes, will create no data. The opposite is also true. Most cases, when you see no data and you open the video, there is no vehicles going through for those movements. And in that case, there might be a lane closed or some construction down the street that's preventing vehicles from getting to the intersection. If we see a spike in the data, we will also review that data to make sure it's accurate. For example, it's very common that we would see a large number of school buses in a particular minute, and we can easily open the video to check and confirm that that is correct. Other common spikes would come from bikes traveling together. Sometimes in low volume intersections, you'll see a lot of right turns. We might open the video and find that there's a funeral procession. And when it comes to pedestrians, we often see lots of children lined up, linking arms, crossing the road together. So it's important for us that we confirm that these spikes and gaps are accurate, and we do that for each movement and for all classifications. Step 4, this is our corridor check. So if two adjacent intersections are beside each other, we want to make sure that whatever vehicles are leaving one are showing up at the other. Quality assurance specialists are ensuring that if there's nothing in between the two intersections, the data needs to be within 5 vehicles or 95%. If there is a parking lot or another street in between the two intersections, we will still run a corridor check, and then based on what we can see on the map, we will make sure that we're making the right judgment so that we know that the data is within an acceptable variance. Something that might cause a corridor to look inaccurate could be a school or large office building in between two intersections. So this could cause a loss of vehicles in the morning and a corresponding gain of vehicles in the afternoon. So the data quality assurance actually likes seeing these variances because they know that all the vehicles are still accounted for throughout the day. Corridor check ensures data alignment between the two intersections. And if you're looking at the little thing, graph of data on the slide there, we can toggle between 1, 10, 15-minute bins. And the reason we need to do that is because often one video might be recording half an hour or an hour before the other one. So we can look through the corridor. Often we'll find a bus or a similar vehicle that stands out, and we'll be able to find it maybe an hour later. So we might discover that the two videos are recording 1 hour apart. Another thing that we might find is that one of the intersection needs to be rotated. So at that point, we can turn the intersection, and then that usually fixes the corridor issues there. So those are our quality checks. Obviously at each step, we're kind of backwards checking, rechecking the config, rechecking everything else that kind of happened before. And as I mentioned, the corridor check is done for all directions. and all classifications. So when it comes to vehicle classifications, they're a big part of our quality checks as far as all the steps. So I wanted to kind of take some time to cover those for you. The primary classes we have for crosswalks are pedestrians and bikes. So we would include these if they cross on or near the crosswalk. Pedal bikes are also included or can be included as a road classification. So our standard vehicle classifications up on the slide: bicycles, motorcycles, cars, light goods vehicles, rigid trucks, articulated trucks, and buses. So these are the classes that we provide, and then when you're uploading the video, you can select all of these classes or smaller subsets. Our vehicles are classified based on size and physical characteristics. So during nighttime video, classification may not be possible, or we may have reduced accuracy. Example of this would be our light goods vehicles, which are physically characterized by being pickup trucks or panel vans, so vans with no back or side windows. So during low light situations, these physical indicators may not always be visible, and it will result in some of these vehicles registering as a car rather than an LGV. Other than low light conditions, given a 5-star rating on your setup, our accuracy guarantee applies to all of the classifications listed on this slide. Some of you may also know that we offer custom classes. So some examples of custom classes we've done: school buses, city buses, horse and buggies, recreational vehicles, and taxis. So if you require a custom classification, this has to be added to our support team. The reason we do that is because we need to ensure that your expectations on what the class is align with ours. Custom classes have to have a unique and distinguishable characteristic in order for them to be separated. So, for example, they might have different thresholds for accuracy, and our support team would help you through that. Horse and buggies obviously are quite clear and obvious on the video, so those would be picked up accurately. School buses also score very well for our custom classes. Taxis, on the other hand, are an example of something that may not be as accurate. They come in different colors, and often their indicator roof light is not always visible. So we do offer that, but at a reduced accuracy. The other part of our service is our turnaround. So our team is working around the clock, and our standard turnaround is 72 hours or less. If you need your data sooner, we have 2 priority options for you. 48-hour and 24-hour turnaround are available. So this year we're on track to process over 1.5 million video hours. And I'd also like to take a minute just before I finish here to tell you that our support team is always happy to help you. They can provide deployment recommendations, answer the questions about your data, help you get a custom class, or if you notice a quality issue, we can fix it fast and free of charge. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jason. So now that you've seen how we verify our data through our own internal QA processes, I don't want you to just take our word for it. I want to show you some examples of how we've had our solution verified by engineering firms, cities, and DOTs. So the link on the screen, and I believe Brent is going to send you the link as well through the chat box as well if you'd like to check it out. But it takes you to our traffic data processing page on miovision.com. And if you scroll partway down the page and click on any of the agency logos that you're seeing on the screen here, they're going to take you to download the respective reports that go along with them. And that way you can conduct your own analysis and see how we've been verified by third parties. Each of these reports or white papers is potentially a webinar in and of itself, but I'm going to quickly show you one example today. And then, like I mentioned, I'm giving you the resource so you can investigate on your own time as well if you'd like to look deeper. So here we're looking at an accuracy comparison that was completed with the Minnesota Department of Transportation with the FHWA. It was a pooled fund study conducted in field tests on non-intrusive traffic sensors. The sensors were evaluated in a variety of traffic and environmental conditions on 2 freeway test sites and with an additional test performed at signalized and unsignalized intersections. An emphasis was placed on urban traffic conditions such as heavy congestion and varying weather conditions. Standardized testing criteria was followed so that these results could be projected and used directly with other transportation agencies as well. And so the results here that we're seeing are showing that ADTs at a level of service through A to D, showing that all of the solutions actually did quite well. But once you start moving into the level of service E to F with congested traffic at lower speeds, you can see where some of the other technologies start to go to the wayside. So for example, radar went from 2 to 20% in errors, magnetometer stayed consistent, but we weren't able to get conclusive results with laser and infrared, and therefore they didn't perform in those conditions. We also see a lot with tools like laser and infrared these issues due to elements like multi-lane roadways or cement barriers. These can impact the accuracy of those technologies. But what you can see in the bottom line of the chart is that Miovision Video was the only solution that performed with a very high level of accuracy of 99.5% for TMCs. So before we break for Q&A, I just want to leave you with some final thoughts. So accurate data is the foundation of any good engineering project, and we want to help you set your projects up for success by providing that foundation. Miovision takes a great effort to ensure that the data you receive is as accurate as it could be, and we hope that through a combination of the tips and tricks that you've learned today and the knowledge of how we conduct our verification processes, both internally and externally, that you'll feel confident that we're providing you with the best tools available to help you get the job done. So we had a question about if we can detect speed.
So not yet. That's something that we've had a lot of requests for, and we're still working on it.
Okay. Is Data Link able to process videos from cameras other than Scout?
So the answer to that is yes. We recommend our Scout video. We know that we're going to be able to process that. We can get a better height, better view of the intersection, but we can process third-party videos. They need to be approved through our support team. We do a sample first just to make sure that it fits. I think there's another question about frame and resolution. So that initial check through support, and then once we approve that, you're welcome to upload your own video.
Okay. Is there any requirement on the video cameras such as frames per second or resolution? What is the angle of the camera? Is there any restrictions there?
Yeah, so again, if it's not a Miovision camera, we'd do a sample first to make sure we can do it. In most cases we can. The only times we usually can is if it's actually like skipping or recording at like 2 times the speed. And the angle of the camera, you want it to face as best as you can to capture all the intersection, not capturing sun or directly into a light.
Okay. So someone asked if we'll be sending a copy of the presentation out after. We will. We'll send a recording of this webinar to everyone who registered. So even people who weren't able to attend, we'll make sure to get them a copy as well. There are some questions about pricing. So I'm going to have those followed up with one of our solution experts because it's dependent on the scenario. So we will get that to you after the webinar.
There's a question about level of accuracy for stop and go traffic, and we're like, that's not a problem for us.
There was another question asking if we were able to count, peds, bikes, and vehicles all at the same time.
Yeah, so if it's part of a TMC, we can capture all the crosswalks as well as the vehicle movements at the same time. If they're interacting in kind of a different way, you might need to do that as multiple studies.
Okay. I also noticed that someone asked if we count e-scooters. So that's a good catch. It is a classification that we're working on. If you have any particular studies where you would like to see that type of data collected, it will be considered a custom classification, and reach out to me after the webinar. My email's on the screen here. I would love to talk with you about it so we can see if we can get you some early access to that new data type.
Yeah, currently the e-scooters would just be registering as bicycles.
As bicycles, yeah.
There was a question about like what maybe our largest cause of missing vehicles would be, and to answer that I would say a couple years back we did a project near a port authority, near a shipping yard, and we found that the corridor was not quite 95%, and we kept kind of reviewing the video, and we found that there was roughly 20% articulated trucks in the study. So most of our studies we find are less than 5% articulated trucks, but if you have a very high amount of trucks, they can block other vehicles and then those won't be detected. So that's probably our biggest area where we would lose vehicles. Fortunately, most studies don't have 20% volumes of articulated trucks, but in those cases, using a second camera on the other side would help us improve that accuracy.
Certainly. So there's a question asking how the Scout is powered. So it is powered through battery. It can last for about a week unattended out in the fields, depending on how long you're running your studies for. We do also have a backup power pack that you can add on as an addition that can extend that period even longer. So again, thank you so much to everyone who took the time out of your busy days to join us today. We hope you'll join us again on another webinar and that you found the content today useful to you. So thank you again, and until next time.
Thank you.